Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Roush, and welcome to the weekly review for week 9 of the Pokemon Speedruns Draft League. Now, taking a look at our overall standings, we have the Heatran on top this week with an 8-1 record. The Jimboomban Jigglypuffs move into second place with a victory and a Garfield the Lightning loss. And as the Caledonia Deerling slipped to third. The Broward Breilooms are in fourth, Cryogonals are in fifth, the New England Braviary and Skullvarn are now in sixth, thanks to their short 2-game winning streak. The Blackpool Blastoise slip and move down to seventh. The Paris Saint-Germain move into, I think they actually stayed in eighth place this week. I can't remember if it was that way before, but the Wolverhampton Waddlers and Coach Baffling Amoeba have gained a little bit of momentum, and they're almost at a 500 record after a bit of a slow start. Definitely starting to come on strong here in the later weeks and moving into the playoffs. The Bludgeoners are in 10th place, the Pacific Log Wailords 11th, the Kentucky Fried Caradon are at 12th, and 13th is the Flavortown Flygons, and of course last place is the semi-defunct Oakland Adaptability and the actually defunct Coach Major. Things to note for this week and going forward. Yes, playoffs are almost here. There's just a few more weeks left in the season. There's actually week 10, 11, 12, 13, so there's only 4 matches to go for everybody. And what the playoff race is going to be is the top 6 teams automatically get a kind of a first round bye, if you will, and then we will have 4 teams competing for 2 wildcard slots. So basically you just want to be in the top 10. So essentially it's the bottom 4 who are competing for that last playoff spot, or in this case we actually have a pretty close matchup between 8th through 13th. I don't think nobody's mathematically out of it yet, is a really cool thing, but it's gonna look like the final few spots are gonna come down to Amoeba, Eternalore, and RX Fades, Etiquette, pretty much. So it's those 4 kind of duking it out for the final 2 or 3 spots, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops in the coming weeks. But let's go ahead and move into the MVP race. What do we have going on here? So top mon, once again, is still Raikou. Raikou actually took a week off this week. He still has only come to 6 games, excuse me. Still has only come to 6 games, hasn't died once. Earthquake and Thunderbolt still best moves to strike people down with. Moonblast actually getting a lot of support this week. Moonblast, I think, was on the top moves list. Hidden Power was up there as well. There were a bunch of people carrying good coverage this week, and it's starting to show. We do have some kind of movement changes along the MVP race board. So Gliscor had a pretty decent week, moves into 8th place and is now the MVP of the Jimboomban Jigglypuffs. Entei had a good week. He moves up. Let's see, who else? Somebody else had a good week, I think. Tara's had another good week as it moves into the top 25, despite the fact it's only been brought to 3 games. Getting that kind of support. Excadrill doing really well. It's only been brought to 4 games as well. So a lot of Mons that haven't been brought to as many games are really doing well in terms of the overall standings. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit and see who we can find down here in the bottom half of the top 50. So we see stuff like Arcanine, Kyurem Black, Celesteela actually was picked up a couple weeks ago by the New England Braviary, and Celesteela actually had a really nice week. We'll take a look at Celesteela here in a little bit. Excuse me. Let's see. yeah, I don't think anybody else interesting here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nobody really surprising in the top 50. Other than Volcanion taking a little bit of a slip here near the top. Volcanion moving down into 6th place. But that being said, let's go ahead and get into some matches. And we're actually going to start off with the Paris Saint-Germain versus the Pacific Log Wailords. As you can see, it's a 4-3 match right now. And after sacking his Klefki, RX Fades brings out his Manectric, which I believe was Choice Specs, versus this Lapras to try and take it out. But Etiquette makes a tremendous read and goes into his Guard of War, tracing the Lightning Rod, preventing the Volt Switch, getting that special attack raise, and forcing Fades to switch out, because after all he is choiced. The Guard of War tricks Leftovers for Leftovers. Originally it was a Choice Spec set himself, so I don't know exactly what that was all about, but the Moonblast is going to be able to 2-hit KO the Slowbro, as the Gardevoir actually is able to 2-hit KO. Goes for another Moonblast, but as you can see, does nothing to the Heatran, because Heatran is a Quad Fairy Resist. And this Heatran is a 4-attack set with Bloom Doom, yes. Goes for the Flash Cannon and is able to pick up the 2-hit KO on the Gardevoir. And, oh yeah, it was a fun set. It had Ancient Power, Fire Move, Solar Beam, as we see here, and the Lapras actually lives and is able to take out Heatran. So Heatran getting that tremendous damage off, and Fades is able to just clean up with a combination of U-Turn from Landorus and Flamethrower from his Manectric, are able to clean up the match. So it turns into a 3-0 victory for the Paris Saint-Germain. Next match is going to be Garfield the Lightning versus Roush. This is, at the time, they were the top 2 teams. No, actually, Garf was still in 3rd, wasn't he? Alright, so it's top seed versus 3rd seed. And this was a tremendous match. As you can see, it is a 4-5 spot right now. Roush locked himself into Thunderbolt with his Choice Scarf Raikou, as Garfield takes advantage of that and actually goes for the phasing Yawn with his Jolteon, and then Volt switches out, predicting the switch. And he brings out his Dragonite. And as we get to see, this is in fact a standard Dragon Dancing Dragonite, which of course Scarf Raikou does outspeed, but at this point Roush hadn't quite revealed Scarf, and is able to take out Dragonite with a Hidden Power Ice. But once again, the Jolteon does form a very potent wall against Raikou with the Volt Absorb, especially being locked into a not very powerful Hidden Power Ice. And Jolteon is able to come in and finish with a Volt Switch. And let's just go ahead and speed this up a little bit, go a little bit more forward. This ended up being a very interesting Entei set too. It was a Howl, Extreme Speed, Natural Gift Grass, and the Sacred Fire. But as you can see, isn't able to take out the Hydreigon, who turns out to be Choice Scarfed also. So double Scarfers for Roush this week, able to put tremendous pressure, and it ends up in a 1-0 victory for Roush, as Virizion is able to pick up the final 3 kills of the match with the Swords Dance, Leaf Blade, Psyche MZ, Zen Headbutt, and Stone Edge combination, thanks to a Healing Wish Jirachi. So 1-0 victory for Roush, close match of the season. Really good plays by Garfield, really awesome sets. That Jolteon was quite special. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. We have the Eternalor, the Bludgeoners, versus Drawls and the Blackpool Blastoise. After a Calm Mind War has Clefable and Latias locked in, Latias reveals the Psyshock and is able to actually 2-hit KO the Clefable. So once again, getting outdone by Psyshock is Drawls. Still needs to be careful of that. Latias is able to go on a nice little mini sweep here. He's stopped by the Alolan Muck, unfortunately, but at this point, the entire team is weakened to the point where a botched Golisopod, is able to switch into the Pelipper. And Pelipper is able to get off. Oh, nope, you get paralyzed. Goes for the skull. The Muck lives because it is Assault Vest. Muck is able to finish off the Pelipper with the Pursuit on the predicted switch out. So, good play on Draw's part to kind of remove that differential. But at this point, Decidueye is able to come in, pick up the kill with the Spirit Shackle, and reveals that he is Decidueye Z, and reveals the Sinister Arrow raid as Nidoqueen Poison Jabs and gets taken out. So this ended up being a 3-0 victory for Eternalore. Really well played match. A pity that you didn't recognize the Golisopod ability being able to activate off of entry hazards like that. Otherwise, the match might have been a little bit different. But Decidueye being able to pick up those final couple of kills was very nice for him. So, good victory for Eternalore as Draws slips in the standings just a bit and makes the playoff race a little more interesting. Now, next up we have MH Shape versus Skullvarn, and as I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Celesteela, but I actually want to talk about this Lopunny, because despite everything, this Lopunny was very interesting to watch. The Celesteela is a Protect Leech Seed kind of stallish set, as Lopunny goes for the Encore, and then proceeds to go for the Power-Up Punch. So a couple of really nice plays by Shape, kind of forcing the switch out of the Celesteela with that Encore, and then going for a couple of Power-Up Punches, puts Lopunny in a great position. Now, High Jump Kick actually KOs Celesteela, but unfortunately Shape is not carrying that move. He's carrying a Power-Up Punch and Return. I don't think we saw a fourth move, but defensive Celesteela able to pick up the Air Slash kill and gets the boost. Typhlosion, this is another misplay on Shape's part. Going for the Eruption. Eruption, when you're at very low HP like you are, does not have nearly as much power as if you have more. And at this point, Tentacruel is able to come in and pick up the kill, and it turns into a victory for Skullvarn. I think it was 4-0. Was it 4-0? Yeah, turns into a 4-0 victory thanks to the Celesteela. Next up, we have Baffling Amoeba versus Sir Arendite. This is a very pivotal match in terms of that last couple of playoff spots. If Amoeba wins, he's put in a nice position, but if Sir Arendite wins, he's got a whole heck of a lot better chance of making playoffs. As you can see, it is SodaStream, the Araquanid versus Melodic, and Melodic went for Scald last turn, didn't get the burn, but finishes off SodaStream with the Hidden Power Rock, I believe is what it was, for the Volcarona and the Pinsir. But unfortunately, Sir Arendite does make a couple of huge misplays here, staying in with his Melodic on the Volcarona and just trying to get some chip damage on it. Melodic was very pivotal in walling out stuff like Scolipede, Pinsir, and Scizor, but Baffling Amoeba takes advantage of it, is able to knock out the Melodic with a Giga Drain, and Sir Arendite goes into his Togekiss. So the Togekiss is going to just go for Air Slash here, as just picking up a little bit more chip damage, as the Fiery Dance does over half. Finally switches into his Assault Vested Incineroar, and as you can see, that Fiery Dance did no types of damage to the Incineroar, as he's able to pick up the kill with the Flare Blitz. But unfortunately, the dents in Sir Arendite's team were already done, and Amoeba being in a great position to finish off the game with a couple of well-placed bullet punches from Scizor. And Amoeba picks up the huge victory, putting him in a good spot for the playoff run. Next off, we have Roe versus Geno Kirby. Now, for a little bit of context, the Mew was a Nasty Plot Baton Pass, and the Coco was actually a agility type set. And this turn, Ro reveals that he is Hidden Power Water. So that means that the Camera Up gets to be one-hit KO'd, but that means that the Zygarde 50% should be able to live any single hit. Oh, no, never mind. Dazzling Gleam. So Tapu Koko able to take out two really, really solid Mons in Mega Camerupt and Zygarde 50%, and then is staring face to face with the Toxapex, and obviously Tapu Koko is going to be taking it out with the Thunderbolt. Interesting play going for the Hidden Power Water, predicting the Nido switch, but Toxic Spikes being very pivotal in this match as well, picking up the kill right there, and that ends up being the only kill that Geno Kirby makes, as Bronzong is able to come in with the Culber Berry, go for the Hidden Power Fire, take out the Kartana, and then picking up the last couple of kills with the Trick Room Sweep. Sucker Punch from Nidoking not doing nearly enough, Future Sight not doing enough either, and one more Gyro Ball will win Ro the match. So that ended up being, as you can see, a 5-0 victory for Ro. It was by far the highest differential in a match this week. There were a lot of really close matches. Last match is Battle Dolphin versus the Oakland Adaptability, being played by Roush. So, just want to start out here. It's Venusaur versus Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this little puffball this week. Interesting set. Focus Sash Endeavor lead. Predicting the Synthesis, goes for another Endeavor, just wanting to get as much damage off on anything that comes in. Then, predicting the switch into Deblade, Dolphin makes a great play and goes for the Stealth Rocks. So now, Jigglypuff is guaranteed a kill thanks to the Stealth Rocks on the Mega Venusaur. So, just wanted to talk about that Jigglypuff for a small bit. You don't normally see Jigglypuff at all when it comes to competitive Pokemon, but seeing it being able to pick up that Stealth Rocks kill was hilarious, to say the least. But Battle Dolphin ends up winning this match 3-0 overall, and of course with the differential. So, yeah, really interesting week this week in terms of matches. We saw a little bit of everything. We saw 1-0 match, we saw 5-0 match, we saw Jigglypuff getting a kill. It's just really, really solid. But all that in mind, what are the power rankings? So here we go. We have, wow, that's not even close. Good job, game. That's cool. All right, we're gonna go ahead and lead off with the Huntsville Heatran at number 1. Again, picking up that very narrow 1-0 victory over the Caledonia Deerling this week. As Garfield actually was in second place. Okay, so he was. So it was 1 versus 2, and it was a 1-0 victory. You can't get much better than that. As you can see, still very kind of even-keeled team, except Raikou is sitting at the very top. Everybody else is doing a little bit here and again. Still only the 18 deaths compared to the 36 survivals. Also note that Swampert's gotten 1/3 of all the deaths on this team. So yeah, still looking very good for the playoff race. Guaranteed a spot at least in the first round is Roush. And with the victory this week, I think he clinches top 4. Something like that. Because everybody else has like a -5 or has 5 losses or more. So with a win this week, Roush guarantees top 4 spots. Next up, we have the Jimbooming Jigglypuffs and Coach Battle Dolphin. Yes, as you can see, Jigglypuff getting a passive kill this week, finally gets a kill, Still has more survivals than deaths. That's very impressive considering just everything. It's so much harder to get extra survivals. Very balanced team. Used pretty much every Mon to the great ability. Not a lot of trades this season, except of course for the Xurkitree, and Xurkitree getting a nice Choice Scarf sweep a couple weeks ago. Very solid top to bottom. Guaranteed a good spot in playoffs. I think guaranteed the first round as well. I think the top 3 are all guaranteed first round buys. Top 4 are guaranteed first round buys, maybe 4 or 5. I have to double check it. No, just the first 3. Okay. Yep. So the Jimbooba Jigglypuff's good spot. Has a pretty easy schedule from here till the end of the season, with matches against the Kentucky Fried Crawdon and the Pacific Log Wailords, and then Paris Saint-Germain also fighting for that last playoff spot. So actually getting to be pivotal for some other people's playoff races is Coach Rowe this week and moving forward. Next up, we have the Caledonia Deerling and Garfield the Lightning, still in 3rd place in the power rankings after the 1-0 loss to the Huntsville Heatran earlier this week. Very balanced team, top to bottom, played really well, has been playing really well all season long, mixing in some very creative sets. Looking good for the playoffs. This team is definitely going to go far. Been highly consistent, as you can see, only losing against other top 3 teams. Has Garf, and it's, man, this is shaping up to be a tremendous playoffs from top to bottom. Like all the teams are pretty much even matched, to say the least. Everybody's playing really well. Coach Rowe is going to be in 4th place with the 5-0 victory over the Camden Cryogonals this week, getting to move up a couple of spots thanks in part to that. Really balanced team, getting good mileage out of pretty much every single one of his Mons, except of course his support Mons with Alolan Persian, Cryogonal, and the very niche Linoon. But I kind of expect that Linoon position to change because I kind of see Linoon being brought to a match to close out the season. As you can see, matches versus Eternalor, Shape, the Wailords, and the Waddlers. So by far the easiest schedule to finish out the season on getting the Wailords and the Flygon, teams who have mightily struggled this year, even though the Wailords aren't exactly in a bad standing spot. They've just been struggling throughout the entirety of the season. So I expect Rowe to make a very good spot in the playoffs, either 4th ranked or 5th ranked seed at least. And that's kind of what I base these power rankings on for this week, is what positioning, based on all of the matches so far, do I think people are going to get in the playoffs. Next up, we have the aforementioned Camden Cryogonals. As you can see, loss this week versus Rowe doesn't put him in a bad position. Has kind of an interesting schedule. 2 pretty easy matches, I'm gonna say, followed by 2 very difficult matches, and of course finishing off with the number 1 and number 2 teams in the league so far, with the Heatran and the Jigglypuffs down there for the last 2 weeks. I expect the Cryogonals to get a first round bye easily. They're in a really good position. Gino is a fantastic battler and a really nice set creator, especially with the Zygarde set from last week being so pivotal to the match. Knows exactly what to bring and how to use his team. So I expect at least 1, if not multiple, playoff round victories for the Cryogonals. Next up are the Braviary, with Skullvarn getting used to his team a little bit more, and then starting to take advantage of kind of his strong points. It's a really solid team. Just being able to use stuff like Azelf, Tentacruel. Tentacruel is not an easy mon to use at all. You have to be very careful with it. It's a great rapid spinner, but it's not the most bulky thing in the universe. So if you want to make it be bulky, you have to be smart about it and use it to kind of enhance its resistances. And Skullvarn did a fantastic job of that this week with the win over the Flavortown Flygons. Moving forward, as you can see, he has matches against the Deerling, Paris Saint-Germain, Kentucky Fried Crawdon, and the Oakland Adaptability. So kind of an average-ish set of matches to finish off the season. I expect Skullvarn to make it through the first round bye. As you can see, based on my assessment, he's a good battler. He's bringing good sets. Has a kind of a weird team though, but it's working for him so far. After a couple of very close losses to start out his tenure with the team, picking up some very decisive victories in the last couple of weeks is going to be perfect for moving forward for him. 7th place, we have the Blackpool Blastoise with the loss to the Rain team this past week. Just once again falling into the same trap, bringing the same mons pretty much every week with only a couple of mix-ins. So far, it's still working, but when it comes time for playoffs and people are a little more careful about team building, this is definitely going to be an issue. Once again, you have a tremendous team top to bottom, and you're really not getting any mileage out of two of my favorite mons. Broken record, I've been saying that for weeks, man. Paris Saint-Germain are in 8th place on the power ranking scale. As you can see, kind of an interesting schedule to finish out the season. One of the more difficult schedules with the Jigglypuffs, the Heatran, the Braviary all above him in the standings. So it'll be interesting to see if Fades actually makes that final playoff spot. I think he has the most difficult schedule out of those final 4 people: the Blastoise, the Saint-Germain, Waddlers, and Bludgeoners, and Wailords. That's right. I think he has the most difficult schedule, but we'll see. We'll see how he does. He's got a solid team. Hasn't been using a lot of mons to the greatest of their ability, but I have faith that he'll provide some interesting matches and maybe go places in the playoffs. Next up, we have the Wolverhampton Waddlers, and as I've been saying since the early part of the season, Amoeba is one of the best builders of his mons. He does some of the best prep that you will see. It's incredible. So, still bringing the same set of bugs, but now getting used to the fact that teams are carrying this type of coverage to really kind of crush him into a corner. Just taking advantage. He has only had wins against the lower tiered opponents, but he has a fairly, well, it's not the easiest schedule. It's kind of average, actually, to finish out the season. But I still like his positioning to make it to playoffs, which would be really nice considering Mono Bug just done a really good job with the team that he's drafted. Really having fun with it, too. And at the end of the day, that's the most important part about Pokemon. It's the game we play to have fun. Let's see. 10th place are the Bludgeoners. That is not the Bludgeoners. They're the Bludgeoners. Tapu Fini, Pelipper, Toxicroak, Marowak, Raichu, Golisopod, Mega Swampert, Latias, Kingdra, Decidueye, Vivillon. Playing a little bit better. Definitely have an easy, well, actually no. Very average schedule, too, to finish out the season. 2 very difficult matches with the Breylooms and the Deerling, and then 2 relatively easy matches with the Flygons and the Adaptability. Free win in the last week. But this team is good. is getting better. He's getting used to not having to solely rely on rain, especially evidenced by last week. Really doing a good job with pretty much everybody. Making use of his entire team was a really welcome sight to me, at least. Watching Latias take advantage and then Decidueye getting to finish up the game was awesome. And hopefully we'll get to see more of that out of Eternal Lore here in the future, especially going into playoff season. Alright, next up, this is kind of an odd pairing. This is kind of the only person who's out of standings, and are the Kentucky Fried Crawdaunt, Coach Sererendite. Still giving some really good matches, but just 1 or 2 turns a match that he makes a misplay on. And sometimes it's hard if you play Pokemon, even for a long time, figuring out exactly what your end game is. The end game is the most difficult and obviously pivotal part of the match. Just being unable to find that final leg has Serendite been not entirely sure if he'll make that last playoff spot. I think he's going to fall just short. He does have kind of a difficult schedule to finish out the season. All opponents who are significantly higher, in fact, are all top 7 right now. So, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to make playoffs, but hopefully you had fun this season, man, and learned a few things. It'll be interesting to see what you plan to do if you plan on doing more draft leagues in the future. But overall, I hope you had fun. Same as everybody. I hope you all are having fun. Next up are the Pacific-Log Wailords on my scale. Even though they are ahead of the KFC in the standings and have a win against them, I just think that the schedule that he has left is gonna, well, he's gonna absolutely destroy him. Doesn't have a good team matchup versus Baffling Amoeba, except for Talonflame. Talonflame might be a good bring. So who knows? He might pick up a win or 2 left in the season, but I don't think you're going to make playoffs, man. Just too little, too late. Not really using stuff like Tyranitar to the greatest of its ability. You have an interesting dual weather core, but sometimes it's hard to build dual weather, and unfortunately it means one kind of gets overshadowed over the other. It's not the most consistent thing in the universe. But hopefully you learned some things as well, man. Hope you had fun. Hopefully we'll get to see you do some more stuff in the future, because I really like the way that you've grown, and the way that you use Lapras is really interesting. Lapras being your team MVP once again. Just really interesting. Alright, and 13th are the Flavortown Flygons. Coach Shape with that very interesting Lopunny set, not really revealing it. If it's the same one that you've been using for the last month or so, congratulations. Nobody realized it, including me. Wow, excuse me. But for now, Cobalion is your team MVP. But man, hopefully we'll get to see some, at least maybe one more win out of you. You might not make playoffs, but I hope that you're having fun, man. I hope you like your draft. It's very interesting. And yeah, last but not least, no offense, but it actually is least, are the Oakland Adaptability, coached by Roush. Yeah, I mean, you kind of dropped out. That's all there is to say about you. Yeah. I guess that'll do it for me. Take one last look at the team MVPs. The overall MVPs, not the team ones. I'm actually going to show you that we keep going down. We actually have every mon, every move ranked. Take a look down here at the Z moves. I think this is interesting. Look at how few kills Z moves actually get. All-out pummeling still being the most popular one. Most Z moves, again, have been used. They have been used offensively. We haven't seen a lot of setup moves. Maybe that'll change come playoffs. But Devastating Drake, Giggle Havoc, Sinister Air Raid, Sub-Zero Slammer, Acid Downpour, Shattered Psyche, Splinter, Storm Shards. Z moves are good, but, you know, you're not going to see them at the top of the kills list. Let's see. I think we still have a couple of Mons brought to every match. Yeah, we have a whole bunch. But yeah, I guess that'll do it for me. This is kind of a not quite organized. I kind of did this one off the cuff. Not a whole lot of prep outside of the matches. But next week, I will have a special guest on. I think it's going to be Skullvarn. So, yeah, you guys will get to meet Skullvarn. And I will see you then. Roush is out.